Okay, so let's continue styling our application real quick. Okay, take this to the side again so we could visualize this properly. And we have our colors, and what we could quickly do, we could quickly say this div that wraps our particular parent. This div that wraps our particular component, we just want this to be, we want it to be absolute, right? And for us to do that, we have to create another div down here, right? And let's just say we have on that div, we're gonna take our values into here and say, okay, so we have our values, and this parent is just gonna be absolute, right? Absolute. Okay, this is just gonna be absolute when it's on large. Left of 0. I think in a moment you see what we're trying to achieve here. It's just gonna be flex, and items, we're just gonna make this center and be a flex of column. And also we said this is just be a width of this is gonna be a width of full and a margin button of 1. Okay, so with that particular style, if you could see this correctly, we have our values right at the center of this particular of the particular color platelet. Okay, and even on mobile it looks good, right? So let's format this properly and continue styling. So the next style of what we need to do here, we need to say for our color, because if you remember we haven't styled this color is just gonna be, because this could just be an h3, right? And let's just close it here. I'm just gonna be an h3, and our color is just gonna be an h3, and class style we could add here, we could say class name is just gonna be equal to, I think for this, let's just make it taking string literals, and I'll tell you why in a bit why we're doing that. So text large, and when we're on large screen, we just want the text to be something around 30 pixels, and this should be uppercase, right? Also font of semi bold, which should give us like 500 or 600. Yeah, okay, so cursor, pointer, and we could just align the text to the left. I think this should give us a good style for our color names directly. Cool, so this looks bigger. Now let's make this bigger, and we have the color name, and we also have the hex values. Let's go back here and see color name and color values. Okay, so we have color, and we could just quickly change this right now. I think let's just use the color instance directly. Instance, right? And if you use the color instance, you'll be able to see a little difference from what we currently have. We have the hashes, and we don't want to show the hashes, so what we could just quickly do here, we could just use JavaScript value of replace, right? We're just going to search through the particular string, right? And we're going to say search for anywhere we see the hash, right? And once you get the hash, just replace it with an empty space, and that should give us the values without the hashes. Cool. Okay, and so you have two options, right? You could just use the color values directly, or you could just use the color instance. But I just want to use the color instance since it's what we already created here, and we're still going to be doing some manipulations with the value. So it makes more sense, since we already have this value, we just use it directly in our component. Okay, so we are getting closer. So I think the next thing we could do here, we could try to, okay, let's take a look and see how this looks like. This is looking good. This is looking different from what we currently have here, and how we're gonna do this right now. Okay, let's take it to the side, and the next step of what we need to do here, we need to still continue styling this particular properties. Okay, so once we have the color now, right now, the next thing we could do, we could actually work on these options, this particular options we have here, where you could like take out a particular color or copy a particular color or like move it and stuff. But before we get into that, right, I just want us to do something. So let's quickly write a function, because if you see right now in the completed one where we have this, if you look at this color, for example, this color looks good on white, right? That is to say that the luminance, right, of this particular color should be favorable on a white text. So what am I trying to say? If you try putting black text on this particular kind of color, it's gonna look bad, right, for a particular design or a particular, like when you're working with accessibility colors, or when you're working with colors that really works for the web, right? So for us to fix that, we need to have a function, right, that checks for the luminance value of a particular color. Then based on that particular value, or based on the particular value that it returns, right, we are going to show different color texts, right? I think to show you how that works again, let's go back here and see. Start the generator. Okay, so once generator start, now you see for the black background, or something that is similar to black, right, this particular hex, we are showing white text. Now imagine we didn't handle this, right? This is just gonna show a black text and we won't be able to see the name or the particular hex value. So I think that should be what we should try to do right now. Okay, so for us to do that, let's take this to the side, and we're gonna go into our utility. We should have a utility, yeah, and so we're gonna add on that function here. And what this function is just gonna do for us here is something very simple, right? First off, we have to import colors, because if you remember, using colors like do the color manipulations and most of the color manipulations on this particular application. And we're also going to import extend. Yeah, I think that's cool. And we also have to import another plugin. Okay, so I think let me just quickly show you guys what we're trying to do right now with the plugin. Now if you go up here and we're looking for this, the accessibility colors, right? Okay, this is what we're looking for. It says add accessibility and color contrast utility, right? So we're just going to import this. We are going to check the color luminance. If the color luminance is 0, 0.01 and 0.71 or 1, right, based on those values. Now this is it. On that way you could do this. You could say, okay, contrast, text on black, white on black. But for this particular video, we're just going to use the luminance to get the values. I hope that's clear, and that's clear of what we're trying to achieve. Okay, so I think at this point we could even close this because we won't need it anymore. And let's make use of this here. And what we're going to say, we're going to just create a function here, right? Okay, let's quickly do it. First off, we need to export, right? Since we'll be using it in our components, just use an arrow function, and we could just call this handle color text class. Yeah, I think for you could name this something way better, but I think this name works, right? Since we're going to use it to like generate the class's name, which we're going to use CSS to style. Now I just want to show you something else again. If you go back to the hosted one, if you notice, the SVG values too are working together with the particular color text. What do I mean? We have the text of white on a black background. Our SVGs are all white too. And if you try, okay, where we have something like black here too, right? The SVG has black. So we'll be using this function across most of the components we'll be building, right? Our chapters. So we just have this function, something very simple, right? Like very, very straightforward. We're just gonna set a constant called luminance, and the luminance is just gonna be equals to our library, right? Then we're going to take the luminance. Then let's just make this a string in Typescript, basic string. And what we just want to do here, we just want to return, right? Very straightforward. On luminance, right? If luminance is less than 0.3, we're just going to return a string of white, else our text should be black. Now you might be wondering, how are we going to make use of this in our component, and how are we going to use it to make the dynamic colors? I'll show you how we're still going to do that. And let's quickly go into the platelets, and to do this, very straightforward, right? Okay, so let's quickly make use of the function here. So we're going to go to the parent, right? To the parent of the whole container, right? And okay, I think we could just take this out for now and show this. First off, before we even add it, let's just see this. We have this text on a black background. We can't really see the text properly, right? Because we're just showing it, and we're not doing like some conditional rendering based on the luminance. Okay, so let's quickly make use of the function. So for that, we're just gonna make this should just be a string literal, and also this should be a string literal. Okay, and the reason why I'm making it string literal, so we could just use our function here. Now remember our function, we called our function handle text class. So let's create a variable here. We're gonna say color text lumi, right? It's just our luminance, and we're gonna import our function handle color text class, and this is just going to take in the particular color, our color instance, right? And we're just going to use color text lumi, and this is just going to be here. I'm going to add it to the class here. Okay, and we're going to use it here. So we're going to say if the color lumi, right, is equal to white, right, return the text of white, else black. And let's format this and see what we currently have here. All our texts are all white, and that sounds very tricky. Don't worry, we're gonna go back and generate a new color platelets. So let's start a new color platelets, and we should see what next. After 4 seconds, all our colors are still white. Okay, let's try it again and see. Okay, now this is what I was saying, right? You could see we have the color black here. It seems like it wasn't working, the function wasn't working, but it was because of the colors that were being generated. Now we have color black, right? And we have the white text. Let's quickly take out this particular logic we just added here. Let's take this out and say, let's not use logic anymore. Just show me the colors directly. Now we have black, 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 black. Everything here is all black. right? Because that's the default colors for the text. But now we just adding this, we've been able to add a little attention to detail for our particular application. So the text color behaves based on the particular luminance of the particular color. I hope that is clear. Let's format this real quick, and I think if we just take this up real quick and say, okay, all right, so we've been able to add that. And the next thing I want to do here is to start working on adding the icons. So if you go back to column, let's name this properly. If you go back to, let's go to this particular one again. Okay, if you go back here, we see that we have these icons. Yeah, I think let's quickly do that. So for us to get the icons, right, the icons are all SVGs, right? They are just basic SVGs, and just basic SVGs. And for us to do that, we will need to create another component. And this time, let's go into components and say this will be called our options. Our options just gonna be a component, right? And what we want our options to undo most of the values we have here. It's gonna undo seeing these icons and everything that needs to be seen here, right? And what we quickly will do here, I think let's go into component and create a new component. And this component is just going to be called icons. And for icons, what we'll do is we're going to return each and every icon we have here, right? And this icon just represents each and every icon you see here on this particular the hosted version of our app. And let's quickly take this out and go through what is happening here. So we have icons, and they are SVG icons. They are all taking the current color, which we are typing here to just be a string, and we are returning the current color for the fields and the stroke, and we are just exporting the colors. You don't have to worry, this particular SVGs will all be available like in the starter GitHub repo. And let's go back to options. So let's create our components. This is just going to be our component. We're going to call this options. Cool. And also inside options, what we're going to do inside options is going to be very, very straightforward, right? And okay, we have an error. It says Clerk network error. Let's refresh. I think that should be a network error. And okay, let's quickly hit back localhost 3000. And let's refresh the page again and see what we currently have here. Are we having an error? No, we're not. Okay, cool. Okay, we're back. So let's start a new generator, and our color is being generated real quick. And once we generate, we have our colors again. And okay, so our colors is actually not working the way it's supposed to work based on our luminance. And I think we're just gonna take a look and see what we currently have in the class, right? And the class components, we have this, right? If it's this, then it's gonna be white, then black. Let's refresh the page again and see what we currently have. Okay, so let's create a new color platelets and see what we currently have. Since we have an issue here, since this particular color is not working anymore, our particular logic is not working anymore, let's quickly see what's happening. And okay, I think at this point it should work. Let's try creating a new color and start generator. Okay, cool. So this is working. So let's go back to working on our options. So our options, right, is just gonna take in all our icons we already exported, right, from that particular component. And let's quickly just import it. And we're just gonna say copy icon, cancel icon, drag icon, just import all of them here, right? And I think we just quickly do something here to make this very, very simple for us to understand. We are going to show each of these icons, right? The first one we're just going to show you, we're just going to show, I think for now, let's just show the drag icon. The drag icon, we have the lock icon, right? And we have some errors from all these icons because we are supposed to pass in the current color. Open, okay, we have our two icons, and let's quickly create the current color variable that will be passing in. Our current color variable is just gonna work as what we just did for the text, right? It's just gonna do, we're just gonna import the function we created before, right? And import it, it's just gonna take in color, and if the color is white, the current color is gonna be white, else it's gonna be black. And we're just gonna say current color is equals to the current color. I just want to show us how we're gonna make this work, and from there we'll be able to move on. Okay, so current color is current color, and this color is not defined right now. We have to accept color as a prop from the parent, right? And we have color, and our color is just gonna be coming from there, and we're gonna accept some other parts, but for now let's just take in color. It's just gonna be a string, right? And that should work. And let's go back to platelets. Okay, So for our platelets, where we have all our platelets showing up right now, let's quickly render our options here. We're just gonna say options. It's coming from, which is just a component, right? We're just gonna import it and put it here, and we're gonna pass in the color. It's accepting a prop of color, and this is just gonna be a color, right? Let's see, the color could just be color instance. Let's just pass in color instance, and I think at this point we should be able to see some icons of what we have here right now. Let's make this bigger. Okay, cool. Don't worry about the styling, we're gonna fix this in a bit. Let's just see what we have here. So we have two icons, two icons, two different icons. Let's take it to the side and see what we currently have again. Go back to options, take out, let's format this properly. And where's this O coming from? Okay, so let's quickly just search for O and say O, where we just have, okay, O here, and we're gonna take out O. We've been able to fix that. So let's go back to coding. So we have the icons, and these are not all the icons we need right now. We need, let's go back to colors again. And we're just gonna leave this open here so we could use this as reference to what we're building. So if you go back to colors, right, we have 3 different icons showing on mobile, while on desktop we have 4 icons, which is actually 5 because of we have the lock and unlock of the color. Okay, now I just want to make this very easy for us to follow along. So we'll go into option, and what we could quickly do here, quickly say, since in this one already we're gonna show some tooltip, and if you remember, let's quickly go into our components. We installed the tooltip, right, from Shadcn, so let's just use it directly here. And for us to do that, we're gonna say, okay, we're gonna say each and every of our particular, now, right, let's just make it div here, and this div is just gonna be posting this particular values. So what we're saying here is this: we're saying we want to show the copy icon, passing the current color, and we also want to show the tooltip that is being imported from the Shadcn library directly. I think let's just import it here, up here. I'm pretty much straightforward. Okay, so we have the tooltip and tooltip provider, and we all have the values here. Let's format this real quick, and I think our error should go away now. Okay, so if we go back to this, we just have we don't have any icon here, and we could refresh. Okay, cool. So we have icon, and we have some other icon. Let's try it in some other place. Let's see this. Take this to the side, and copy icon. Yeah, we have copy hex. Okay, cool, amazing. And let's quickly do it for the other icons too, right? So we have this one, which is for copy. We have the next one. We're just gonna call it on that div, and this div is just gonna hold the next one, which is just drag, right? The drag icon. And we're also gonna say for the last one, we want another one here, right? It's just gonna hold on the tooltip provider of our lock values. Now mind you, we don't have access to this particular array yet, so we can't use it, but we're gonna accept as a props, and I'll show you in a bit why we need this. Okay, so let's just type this real quick. Our color hex, we'll say color hex is just gonna be a string of arrays, right? And okay, so we have our icons, and cool. I think we could quickly take out this one, and we should add another one on top here, which is just gonna be the delete, right? Delete color. And mind you, we're gonna actually add like the functionalities to each and every icon here. Okay, we have all our icons set up. Let's take a look at how this looks. Refresh the page one more time. Okay, this is looking really good, and we just need to style this. Okay, so for us to style this, we're just gonna say let's format this one more time. And okay, so we're just gonna use this class name and say for our appearance, right, let's quickly style this guy. We're gonna say this should just have a class of these values, and just regular classes. We're gonna set it to flex row, flex column, and let's quickly fix this error we're having here. And item-center. Okay, what we're trying to do with this particular class, we're just basically trying to add some spacing in between each value. Let's see the error we have here. Equal to this, and okay, this should be this, and this should go away. Yeah, our error should go away. Yeah, and if we look at the browser again and see what we currently have. Okay, let's see this in desktop mode. So we have some spacing in between our icons, and let's go back here and see what we currently have. So if we go back to the the particular color page, and we have the platelets, and inside the platelets, that is where we are showing the options. Right now, based on the one we already have hosted, the one we're done with, if you take a look at this, we are showing different icons, right, on desktop and also on mobile. And the way I actually want to achieve this, I just want to make use of a hook. And to do that, the way we're going to do that is very straightforward. And there's a particular hook we're going to make use of to achieve that. And this hook will just be, it's just going to be used right inside our components. Where we have library, we have components outside here, right? In the root, we could just say we want to create a directory call, hooks. So these are just going to hold our hooks. I think we'll still need like other hooks for other functionality on the app. And this particular hook, we're just going to call it useMediaQuery.ts. And what this particular hook is just going to do is very straightforward, right? We're just trying to have some responsive styles, right? Trying to chain an event listener to our page. Then based on the values, we'll be able to show different icons. Let's go back to options, and I think we need to use this in the platelets. And let's go back to our platelets components, and inside our platelet components right now, we're going to make use of this hook. This hook is called the useMediaQuery, and we're going to set, say, if it's desktop, right? If it's desktop, if we're on desktop, right, then we're going to use this media query, and the particular value or the particular minimum width of what we were going to be looking out for is just going to be something around 760 pixel, which is like a desktop size. This should just be a string, and there should be an error, and this should be a string. Okay, I think like this we are okay, and this should work for us right now. So now, what are we going to use this hook for? If you ask me, we are going to use this hook to show some values. Now, since we have this, right, and if you go back to this part and go back to the home page, we generate a new color. Once you land on the color platelet, just notice we are actually seeing the icons directly. We actually don't want that behavior, right? We don't want that to happen, because if you see on the hosted one, the icons only shows, right, when we are hovering through the particular color platelet. So we're going to use the desktop to do that, because on desktop we are not actually hiding it. So we're going to use this media query hook we created, right, to achieve that. Now let's take this guy to the side again and say, remember we created a file called variants which hold our variants. And what we could quickly do here, we're going to say go into our variants, and inside our variants we're just going to place into variants. This is just going to be column variant starts show column variants, column child variants, opacity of 0 and 1. Okay, so we're just the variants are just what we're going to be using in Framer Motion, right, to tell Framer Motion to hide these particular icons once we come on that particular once we come on the particular page. And for us to do that, it's quite very straightforward, right? We are going to say here, right, instead of showing the options, we're going to say if we're on desktop, right, if we're on desktop, remember we have a variable up there called desktop, right? If you're on desktop, we are just going to show something, and else we're going to show something else. And what we're going to show here, it has to be a motion component, right, from Framer Motion. We're going to come here and say we just need a motion, right? Motion.div, and the motion.div, right, is just going to hold our options, our option components. And I think let's just write this properly. Our option components are takes in our color and our color instance, and there's some more stuff. Okay, so that is that for this. Why, if you're on smaller devices, right, we're just gonna show options directly and rendered options here, and yeah, that should work it for us. So let's quickly import motion from Framer Motion up here, so we could make use of it, and so this error goes away. We're going to import motion from Framer Motion. Go down here and see what we have here, and we have some errors. Can't find name. Did you mean can't find name motion? I think that error should be fixed now, since we already imported motion from Framer Motion. And I think one thing, we could just quickly restart our server. Okay, let's quickly restart our server and see. Okay, so our server is up again. So what we could quickly do here, we're going to say, so since we've been able to add this right now, let's make use of our variants. Remember we created the variant, right? Let's make use of our variants. And for us to do that, we are going to quickly say, we're going to make this also a motion, right, since this will be the parent. And we're going to say you're going to hold a variant, right, and our variant is just going to be equal to what we call the column variant, which we're exporting the column variant, right? Then this particular one that will show up on the desktop, just taking a variant of column child variant, and let's quickly finish up this. So we're gonna say on initial is gonna be equal to the start of this component, and then while we over this, so these values are all just coming from Framer Motion, right? I advise you check out documentation or a tutorial of how to use this. So we'll say show, and what we're just doing, like a straight example or a straight explanation of what we're trying to do here is we're saying start and show of the parent column variant here, right? Which is just empty values. They're actually not doing anything. And let's go back here and see what we currently have again. So we just want to go back to the platelets, and this should be the part where we are, and we're over initial show, and I think this does it for us. This does it so far. Okay, so if you go here now, right, and you hover through the particular color, you get to see the different options, not like the way it was before. So if you don't really understand what we did here, let me take this out real quick and show you what we did. Okay, we'll just take this out and cut this out, and also take out this part. Let's just do this, so I'll show you. So on desktop, like when you're viewing this particular platelet on desktop, right, let's refresh the page real quick and see what we have. All our icons are just showing up straight up, right? All our icons are showing, and this is not the desired behavior. So that's why we had to create some variants, right, which we are making use of here to say, okay, show this guy when it's on desktop, else just show the options directly. Now with that particular setting of what we just did, once you come on the page, you won't be able to see the options until you hover through the particular platelet. Makes sense. So let's go to the side, and the next thing we need to really do here is to style this, because I just realized this is not looking really good. This text all supposed to be in the bottom here, and the icons in the middle here. So let's quickly take a look and see the styling of what's really happening. Okay, so we are in the color platelets, and this holds the desktop. Okay, this holds the desktop and our text. Let's see our style. Let's go down here again and see what is holding all our text. We have absolute large, right? And once it's large, right, we are also gonna say left of 0, flex, large, item center, and then we have our text, which are all just gonna be, which all have our styles. And okay, I think the way we could debug this, right, this is actually behaving really wrong. I think this should be very, very easy to resolve, because since the parent is absolute, right, and each of these items on top of the parent are also absolute, the issue should be that they are all on top of each other, and to fix that, one of them have to have a different property for the bottom. So I feel this should be our solution. Okay, let's take this to the side again and see how we're gonna fix this. Is since this container, right, is absolute, let's take this to bottom, right? This should be bottom of 0. That should fix it for us, hopefully. Let's refresh the page again and see. Yeah, cool. So we have this in the bottom of 0. I think this is 2 down. Let's quickly take it up a little bit, and for us to do that, we're just gonna say, we could say this should just be a button of, like, let's find a particular value. Let's say 14. Let's see how 14 looks like on desktop mode. Okay, 14 looks good, and we've been able to add the particular animation. Now if you see this, we have all our animations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, as you go through a particular color, you get to see the colors, and each of our icons just have our particular colors. They all have our particular tooltip, which we are using from Shadcn directly. And I think the next thing, let's fix this tooltip, because if you see in the hosted one, the tooltips are all black, but what we currently have here are just white. They are having white backgrounds. And now one important attention to details, if you notice it, the icons are working according to the text. So for example, we have black. This is also text of black. We also have our icons black. Now this is possible thanks to this particular function, utility function we created before. We're also using it, right, for our options to pass in the current. Like, that is what we're doing here. We're just saying, okay, undo this, turn to white, black. If it's white, just make our current to be white, else make it black. Then we're passing it into each of our SVG components, accepting it as a string, setting the stroke and the fill straight out. Like, that's how easy it is to do such very little attention to details when building applications like this. Okay, so I'll say at this point we are getting something very clean. So we still have more work to be done. And so far, if you got into this part of the video, please leave a like and also make sure you subscribe and leave a thumbs up, share the video, because similar videos will only be worked on in the nearest future and I don't want you to miss them, right? And if you've watched to this particular part of the video, you are doing amazingly well so far. So let's continue what we're working on. So back to our components. Let's take a look again and see what we could quickly do. Now, if you go to our posted one, you see we have some, okay, let's see this. We have select color, right? So let's quickly add the select color. Let's quickly add the tooltip for that. So for us to do that, we need to use our tooltip provider again inside our color platelet. Inside our platelet, and we're gonna say how we're gonna do it is very straightforward, right? So we're gonna take in our provider, and our provider is just gonna do one thing and one thing alone. This is where we have the name, right? And we're just gonna put our provider here and say h1 color replace, color instance replace, which is already what we're doing, right? And let's quickly import the tooltip provider to import this. Okay, cool. We have this imported, and I think we could just take this out. We're not working on this yet, and format this properly. Now if you go here and do this, and let's have all the other one, right? Okay, let's see this again. How about the first one? Okay, it's not working as expected, so we could take out this other h3. We don't want to. So when you have our h3, this is the trigger, right? Then just gonna show you the content of select color. Let's refresh the page and see what we have. So come here and do this select color. Okay, cool. Select color, we could see select color, and let's quickly fix the background of the tooltip. And to fix the background of our tooltip, we're just gonna go into tooltip, right? And what we just need to change here is the text, right? I think just make this into a separate line. Okay, that's gonna throw error, and let's break this, right? Alternate z, that's the command key to do that. So we're gonna switch the values. Background or white, we don't want background or white. We want this to be background of stone, right? Which is like black. BG, we're gonna say BG stone 950, and text of white. Yeah, I think that's only what we need to change here. And if you go back here and have a look, you'll be able to see that we have some weird tooltip showing up here, and we don't want any border, so we could say border of none. I think that should fix to our issue. And let's see what we currently have. Okay, cool. We have this, so we could say select color. Yeah, this is looking amazing so far. We have this toggle color, we have drag, we have copy X, we have remove color. Okay, so we have some values to, we have some features to work on. So let's quickly go back to our platelet. So for now, I want us to focus on working on the options, right? So let's go back to the options, and this is where we're going to like work on each of these icons right now. So let's start with the first one, to remove a particular color. Now, okay, so to remove a particular color, we are going to create a function, obviously, and this function, we're just gonna call it const. We could just call this undo remove. Let's name this to camel casing, undo remove color. And undo remove color is just gonna say, it's gonna take in our color. You could say a const of colors, each and every colors we have here, right? And this color is gonna be equals to slug.split, and we're gonna split it by the dashes, right? And we don't have access to slug yet, so let's quickly go up and fix that. And now you might be wondering what we need this slug for. What we basically need it for here, right? Or how we're gonna get the value. We're gonna make use of the use params, right? Use params from Nextjs. So the new use params, right, is just used to make this wider so we see it. It says is a client component hook that lets you read the route dynamic params filled in by the current URL. Okay, so what that means is we want to be able to read, let's go to localhost. We want to be able to read this params, right? And once we click on this particular, on a particular color or a particular icon that says remove color, we are going to take out the value. Okay, so to do that, very straightforward too. We'll just create a variable here that says, we're going to destructure slug, right? Slug is going to be coming from our use params, and our use params, yep. And let's see, use params is imported from next navigation, and we have a Typescript error. It says it does not exist on type string here. So if you come over here and see how they're doing it, right, you could actually define your types. So for us, let's quickly define the type of our current use params. So since we are using slug, right, our use params is just going to accept the structure of a slug, right, which is just going to be a string, and that way we can split it. And okay, this should be closed properly, and yeah, at that point we should be able to split. Amazing stuff. And okay, so one thing I just want to do, let's log slug. So we'll see what we currently have in slug. No, this should be slug. Okay, so slug gives us the dynamic paths, right, the dynamic params, like it said here, just a client component that lets you read the route, and we've been able to read the route, which is this. We've been able to get these values. Now we've gotten the value, and we are going to use it inside our remove color function, which is this. We're splitting this, right, and the split basically is just going to return an array. So once we have an array, we can filter the values based on the particular color that was clicked. So one more step, this particular function should expect a color to remove. I think that was what we're going to call it, color to remove, so we could understand properly, right? So we're going to pass in the value that needs to be removed, and the value that needs to be removed needs to be a string. And come down here and say, we could say very straightforward, right? Okay, so what we are doing here, we just have a function, right, that's going to help us remove the color. And if you create a new variable here, we're just going to call this updated colors. Updated colors, right, it's just going to be equals to our colors. Then we have to filter this, no, not fill, we have to filter, and just call this C. And what basically we want to do here is we want to say the C value, and we're going to remove, right? This is how you actually remove an item from an array. And you say color to remove, which is just going to be a string. Let's format this, and for now, right, let's log updated colors. Okay, cool. So now this particular function, we are going to use it when we click on a particular remove icon. So we'll just add an event listener on click, right? Once we click on this, we are going to pass in the color that needs to be removed, and to color to remove, handle color remove, and it's expecting a value. And the value we're going to pass in here is just going to be the particular each color. And mind you, color is coming from the parent, right? And I think we can demonstrate this, and yeah, we can demonstrate this right now. So if you make this wider, we have all our colors, and let's say we remove this color, right? And let's take it to the side right now. You click on that, we have our updated colors still as 5. Now something is wrong in this particular logic. If you click on this, this should take out our color. But now if you look at our console.log, it's not taking out our color. Because why? These colors, these colors we are seeing here right now doesn't have the hash, right? While the color to remove hashes. Because let me log the color. Okay, let's log. I just want to show us why this is not working. Okay, so if you see color, let's say color, because that's what we're passing to the function, right? And cool, amazing. So you see color, right, have the hash, which is like a complete hexadecimal color, while our values we are getting from the params, right, doesn't have the hashes. That is why JavaScript cannot filter the value properly. So for us to do that, we need to take out the hash from the color to remove. So we're going to say dot replace, right? We're going to replace this value and add some regex value here, and we're going to say, okay, so find every hash we have here and take out every hash. Okay, sorry, to be the other one. No, take out every hash and replace them with just strings. Straightforward, like very straightforward shit. And okay, color to remove, and dot this. Okay, cool. Let's format our code. Color to remove. What's the error? Cannot find him. Color to remove. Do you mean color? Okay, that should not be an error. Okay, cool. So I think at this point, okay, to visualize this properly, let's do something here. Let's make this and widen this. And okay, I doubt that works for us right now. Let's take this out. And so now I think at this point, since we're taking out the hash from the color to remove, we should be able to filter the properties. So if you click on this, we should have an array with just 4 values if we undo this properly. Yeah, so we have an array with 4 values. So right now, this first one we clicked on, which is 8AA3A47, that's been taking out the array, right? So now the array starts from 253F1G. So we could say we are almost there, right? Taking out a particular color. Now, this is returning an array. We can't really use this to do anything because we need it to be just regular strings, right? And we could just create a new variable here. Say this new variable could just be called our new route, because we're going to send the user to the new route. That is how you can update the user. And update colors dot, we're going to join the values, right? And the join value, it says adds all the elements in an array into a string, right? So we have an array, we want to send them all into a string, and they'll be separated by the dashes like what we have currently here. And we have new routes. Let's log before we use it to do anything right now. Let's log new routes. Okay, and let's take out this color. Let's take out this color. If you go back here, we have 8, we have 5, we have B8, we have B7. Now this particular color has been taken out. That is how you actually do it. So if we say we take out 8A and we take a look at our console one more time, 8A is no longer in our array because we filtered it out, right, with the filter property exposed from your array methods. Okay, we've done that. Nice. So now the next step of what we need to do, we need to route the user. So once the user clicks on this particular stuff, we want to route the user to the new particular route, because at that point this value does not exist anymore. So we want to route the user to the new page, and we're going to use router, right? And we haven't imported router yet, so let's just say router.push, and we're going to route the user to the new route. Okay, this should be small camel case. This should be small case. And let's go up here and say we want to import router equal to use router that's been imported from like use navigation, from being imported from next navigation. Okay, cool. And okay, it says what? The push does not exist. Okay, that has been taken out. So now let's quickly see this. So we have, I think, let me refresh the page real quick so we'll be able to visualize this properly. So we are on the landing page. So we are on the platelets page. Once you click on a particular color, it goes away. You are being pushed to a new page. Click on this, takes you to a new page. And if you notice, the URL is being updated. If you do this, we just have one value, right? And let's go back to our landing, and okay, let's generate a new color again. And okay, so we have this color looking nice, and we could just quickly say we want to remove this color, right? We remove this color, it gets updated. We are routing the user to the new route, and yeah, that kind of works for us. And I think what we could quickly do to make this work, or to not to make it work, but like to fix it, instead of using the push, right? I said let's quickly go to documentation. Let me show you real quick. Router replace Nextjs. So I think this is actually the pages router. What we need is for app router. Yeah, okay, cool. So if you go to the app router documentation for use router, you see it exposes some value, right? It says it exposes the router.push, which is what we're using, right? It says it performs a client-side navigation to the provided route and add a new entry into the browser history. And we have router refresh, and this is what I want to show you guys. So it says perform a client-side navigation to the provider route without adding a new entry into the browser stack. So what does that mean? It means that, let's quickly go back here. With this now, with using the router.push, you see we can actually go back, right? We could go back and go back and go back. We could even go back to the generate page, and which is not a particular desired behavior you actually want to use in such application, right? You just want, this color is already existing, the user has taken it out. We don't want the user to be able to go back to those colors anymore, because we are actually using the URL here to handle the colors. So now if we go back here and say instead of router.push, we just want to replace, right? Let's just replace the routes. And okay, so we have these colors, and let's take out this color, take out that color. Now if you say want to replace, it takes you back to generate. You can't really like go back to the colors you already took out, right? So let's try it again. You take out the color, you remove this color, you remove on that color. You can't really go back, because if you go back based on what documentation says, it says it add new entry without providing you access to like being able to, based on documentation, it said it gives us the route without adding a new entry into the browser history stack. So we can't even really like make use of the browser history stack here anymore, because once we go back, it takes you to the previous page. So that would be the particular use case of why I would say we should use the router replace. Now, one more thing I need to do real quick here is, if you notice, if we go to localhost generate, we shouldn't be able to hit this particular page here, right? And let's go back to generate, so where we are generating this page. So instead of push, we're just going to say replace, right? and we are not gonna like push the user to the new color anymore. Now let me show you this. If you go to localhost generate, right, and you go back, let's start from the beginning and one more and see this. So once you start the generator, right, you hit this page, cool, and you go back, we won't be able to go back to generate anymore. I don't know if you saw what we tried doing there. So before, when we're using push, right, once the user hits, let me show you again. Once the user hits the generate page, then from generate page, you're being routed to the dynamic page, right? Before now, once you click on the back button, right, you're being taken to the generate page, which is not actually a behavior you want also in such application. So we're just going to replace this, and the browser doesn't have any previous history for that particular route. So it takes us back to the base. So that will give us a very good user experience and streamless usage for this particular app. And mind you, this is based on requirements, what you want to do. Okay, cool. So let's go back to our component and see what we could do next. So we've been able to take out the colors. You can remove colors right now. And now there's a flaw in this particular feature. If you take out this color, right, and you take out this other color, it can't work, right? It's not working anymore. And this is a flaw in the design. This is a flaw in the particular feature. So what we could do here, we could say, let's go back to the home and come back here. So let's go back to options. So what we could say is, before we write the code, right, let's just talk about what we do. So what we could say is, once we've taken out colors and we have just 2 colors remaining, right, this particular icon should disappear. Now let me show you this. That's what we're doing currently here. So let's take this out. We take this out. We take this out, and you can't see the remove icon anymore, right? All you just have to do is you could just drag and this and stuff like that. You can't really like take out a particular color anymore. Amazing. So let's go back here and try to implement that. So to implement that, very straightforward, right? We are gonna say this should be on our particular remove icon, which is this, right? And we're quickly gonna say since this is the container, right, we're gonna say, since we have access to our slug, and we're gonna split it, right, and split it, right, returning it to an array, right, and we are gonna say check the length. If the length is greater than 2, that is only when we are going to make use of this. We're gonna show this particular div. So this is it. So let's place this inside here and take out this error. Yeah, I think this should work. It's very straightforward. And let's refresh the page and see what we currently have. So if you try removing a particular color, remove this one, and once we get to the last 2 remaining colors, we won't be able to see the remove icon anymore. Yeah, I think we've been able to fix that. And let's quickly make a new color again so we could work on the next feature. Okay, so start generator. Okay, cool. So I think the next thing we could work on now, the next features we could work on, let's quickly work on the copy, right? So once you click on this, you should be able to copy, and work on that is very easy, right? And I think first off, we need to create a new hook, right? Let's quickly go back to our hook directory, and we're just gonna call this use copy, right? And what this particular hook is just gonna do is very straightforward, right? It's just gonna help us be able to create values, right? When we copy a particular value, we're just gonna copy a particular value to the user clipboard, and the user will be able to paste it in any other application they need to, right? Very straightforward and all. And now let's go into options. I think we'll be doing it inside here again for simplicity. We have, okay, let's clean this up real quick. Take that out of our console. I think this works for us. Take out the slugs for now. And the next one we're gonna do now, we're gonna say this should just be on. We just call this handle copy, right? Handle copy, and just gonna be an arrow function, and this should just be straightforward for us right now. Okay, so what this is just gonna do is we're gonna call in our hook, right? Our hook exposes 2 values. We just quickly do it here. Say okay, const this equals to use copy, right? And use copy exposes 2 values. It exposes the copy function, which we use to copy, and I think you also have access to the copy text. Okay, so if you're wondering what's happening here, let's just go back to our components. So now this is use copy, right? And we are exporting use copy and saying use copy should return the copy text and copy. Now there's a TS error, wondering why we have that. And the other reason why we have that is because, okay, so we just have this, and we also have access to the copied text. I think I just want to show us this, and copy is just gonna take in a string of, for now let's just say hello world. So I just want to show you an example, right? So undo copy, I think a better word should be just undo hex copy, right? That's more descriptive. And we're just gonna come down to, this is where we have copy, right? Okay, no, that is actually remove color. Let's see copy. Okay, this is copy. We're gonna say on click, right? On click, I think we just pass this undo hex copy, and we could add it that way since we're not expecting any value, right? And or we could quickly just say, okay, we could just pass in color since it needs a particular color, and undo color, just gonna take our color, it's just gonna be a string. You know, mind you, we have this color already directly inside this component, and we're still passing it down as a parameter in our function. I'm just doing that so we could, like, in case you want to reuse this particular function, right? Else in a different scenario you could just use the value directly, but this still works for us. So we've binded it to an event listener. When we click on this, we have to make this work like this, right? And yeah, let's make this white. Refresh the page one more time, and so let's go here. Copy. We've copied the particular value. Let's see what we copied. Let's paste hello world. Yeah, cool. So that works for us, right? So now we won't want to copy hello world in a real life application, or what we want to copy is just the color, right? Direct color. And we also need to show a toast, because if you remember, we already installed the toast from Shadcn, right? So we just need to do a toast from use toast, which is our hook, right? Use toast, then inside here we're just gonna say this should just show a toast of title, color copy to the clipboard. Very straightforward. Okay, amazing. And let's format this real quick. Okay, so let's say copy. Let's copy the value and copy. We can't see anything here right now. Let's see. Okay, let's make this white. Copy hex. Okay, it doesn't work. Now the reason why it won't work is because if you go to Shadcn, right, from Shadcn UI, you get to see how you're supposed to set up a particular toast, right? Let's go back to documentation, let's go back to components, and what we need here is toast, right? And that should be right around here. This is toast, and to make use of it, right, we need to import the toaster in our root layout. So that's why it did not work, right? So let's quickly go to the root layout, which is our layout. Import this and just use toaster beneath our children props. Yeah, so I think at this point with just this little change we can make use of the toast and it should work. Now let's say you copy this and let's refresh one more time. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're done loading up, and let's copy. Yeah, color copy to clipboard. Amazing. And we have this color copy to clipboard. Amazing. Color copy to clipboard. Amazing. So we could show this, and this works for us. So let's quickly style this particular toast that we have here, because if you see the one we have in our hosted site, once you copy, right, it's looking more rounded and looking more better. And let's just quickly go into components. We're gonna go into the component called toast, right? And we're gonna change some values here. And the values we're gonna change, I think let's open this properly and try to break this. Okay, the values we're going to change here, we're going to change the background, right? Like you saw there, we just want something to be having a background of black, right? So we're going to say this should be a width of 280 pixel, and we are going to say the default, right? The default of what we want here, which is, I think this is default, right? The background of white, we want this to be black, the text of white. Yeah, I think this actually works for us, and we still have one more value to change here. We need to make this rounded, and before we do that, right, let's quickly say this should just be rounded dash full, and take a look at what we have right now. Go back to this and let's try copying, right? Yeah, we have something like this, colored copy to the clipboard. Okay, this is looking very, very big compared to what we had here. Okay, so I think we need to reduce the font size. And the font size of what we're going to use here, we're just going to use a font size of SM. Let's come down here and find the description or the title. I think this is the title. Okay, we already have SM, and we're just trying to style this. And I think the next value we could do here, let's take out, there's a border. We don't want this border, right? Copy hex. We don't want this border around this particular post. And to take out the border, let's quickly you can quickly search for border. We don't want any border dash none. Let's say this again, and okay, let's refresh the page one more time, and yeah, we have this. Amazing. Let's quickly create a new color platelet. Let's create this 4 seconds. We should be done. Okay, cool. Now, so if you copy hex, color copy to the clipboard. Okay, let's see what we have here again. Okay, I think we need to reduce the padding, right? The padding of the default styling that we have. Okay, let's look for where we have padding, and in the variant, right, of padding -6, we won't be needing that much padding. We're just gonna say padding of, let's say 4. Then margin right might not also be needed based on the particular design we need, and padding of 4, let's reduce it to like 3, which is equivalent to like 12 pixels, and refresh the page again. And okay, let's copy this. Amazing. So we can copy this and copy this and copy this. Okay, that works, right? We've been able to like add the copy, right, to copy the values to the user clipboard. And mind you, it already works, right? If we paste the value, we already paste the particular with the hex, with the hashtags, right, or with the hash SI decimal. So I think one more thing we could do here, let's click open the toast provider. I think that should be toaster. Okay, I think the toast we have right now works for us. Let's see this, use toast. So toast, remove delay, right? We could just reduce this to like 100,000 and refresh the page again. And okay, so once we click on copy, color copy to the clipboard, and that should dismiss very fast. Color copy to the clipboard, 1000 milliseconds is out. Yeah, I think that works for us. Okay, so what we're gonna quickly do next now, we're gonna work on this particular feature to drag a particular color platelet and rearrange them. Let me show you an example of what we're trying to do right now. So let's go to the hosted one. We generate a particular color platelet, and once we are there, we could drag some colors across each other. And so yeah, so to do that, we're just gonna be using frame motion reorder, right? So it's just a set of components exposed from frame motion you could use to reorder your components. And for this tutorial, we're gonna be using it with some React states, with a use states, right? So we could really get a smooth animation and get a desired result of what we need. Let's quickly go back and start coding. Okay, let's take this here and quickly go back to where we have our platelets, and I think this should be the parts. Let's format this component again and see what we could do here. The first thing we need to do, okay, I think we could do, let's quickly bring up this documentation again. So for how to do this, we need to import reorder, right? We're just gonna do it in this component here, because this is where we have the components holding our platelets, and that should be inside our pages up here. This is where we have our platelets, and our platelets is just the parent, right, holding each and every item we have here right now. So this is it, right? So we need to import reorder, right? And we're just gonna make this particular component, we're gonna call it reorder dot group, right? This is gonna be the parent. So once you set that, we need to set the values, right, which should just be an array. Next, we also need to set on reorder what do we want this to do, and I think we will also set the as is, which is just x or y as is. And for now, we're just going to leave it at x as is. And the next thing we could also set here, we're just going to set the ref. The ref is just going to be equal to a target ref, right? And let's set this up quickly up here. We have this and this and this. Okay, amazing. So if you look at this particular place now, the values should just be our color platelet, which is what we have here, which is just an array, right? An array of colors, which we are splitting at this point. Because if you look at the example we have here, you're just going to pass in the values, and on reorder, you're going to set items. And we are doing something similar here based on the documentation. As this is x, the values are just color platelets. On reorder, we're going to call the setter from our state. We're going to say set color platelet, right? And our ref, right? Our ref is just going to be, okay, I think we don't need to pass in any ref for this reorder directly. Okay, cool. So we have values, we have reorder, we have the axis of x, and we are going to move into the platelet component, and this should be the children, right? Because it says we have the reorder, and we have the reorder group, and we have the reorder item. So we also have to import reorder here too in this component. And okay, we already have imported. So this will be the parent, right? So we'll take this out. This also gonna serve as our motion components. No worries, it's still gonna work. And reorder the item. Okay, there's an error. Let's see what the error is. Reorder item. Okay, this should be caps lock. Amazing. So we have reorder item, which is the wrapper like for this each individual colors, and let's quickly see what we currently have in it. And we just have our colors, and okay, let's stack this up. So we could drag a particular color right now, and it's actually working in a way, but we are not there yet, because what we want it to do is we want to be able to drag only this particular icon so it could move, right? We don't want to be able to drag the whole color platelet. That's not the desired feature. So let's continue working. Okay, so we'll go back to, let's quickly go back to, so you can drop this down, and let's quickly go back to this page. Yeah, we have the reorder, and our reorder is just gonna be color, pages, group, order. Okay, so let's go back to this platelet, and inside the platelet we're gonna set some values here. We're gonna say, since we have the item, we're gonna say drag. We should have access to drag listener, and we're gonna set drag listener to a particular boolean we're gonna set up here. So let's quickly create a boolean, right? A boolean state that's just gonna be equal to draggable. Then this will be our setter, draggable. Oh, shit, okay, that's wrong. Draggable. Then since it's like this, it's just gonna be use state, and use state, draggable, and set draggable. And beginning of the components, it's just gonna be false. Okay, set draggable, and draggable is just that. And we're gonna say drag listener to be false, right? And let's go back to the documentation again. We'll see where this is being set. So if you go down here, you could actually set this up to actually not drag only when you add a draggable control. So what do I mean? The example we have right here right now, you can't actually drag the whole item compared to the one we have up here where you could drag every item like from the parent directly. So we want to just bind a particular part of this container to be the draggable part, right? So in our own case, we just want the icon to be the draggable part, right? Okay, cool. That is the desired behavior we want. That's why we are using draggable, setting it to a boolean and a setter which we're gonna use in a minute. So we'll say draggable listener is just gonna be draggable, and that is false. Okay, what else can we add here? We're gonna say the value is just gonna be color, and we're just passing key. Also key is just gonna be color. Make sure you don't use the index as the key, because it won't really work, because framework motion won't really know which value to use. Okay, so we have this, and we have the value, we have the key, and we have a particular function we could set up here on drag, right? And we just need to add on that event listener, right, which is called on drag end, right? We just want to set draggable to false. We're gonna set this to false. Okay, so this will all make sense in the bits, all right? Just it will all make sense in a bit. So now let's go back to our code and see this. Now if you see this, we can't really drag these items anymore like we previously did, simply because of this particular value we have here, which is the drag listener. So if we put the drag listener to false, meaning that we can't drag it. So now mind you, if I change the state to true, right, we should still be able to drag this now. Okay, and I think we just need to refresh and it works. Okay, so we can drag our items across, and you see how it's acting up, right? You can drag this, you can drag this one, you can drag this one, you can drag this one. It's actually kind of buggy, and that's why we need to make it false on the beginning of the page, and we're just gonna use some event listeners to fix it directly. So what we want now is when you drag a particular icon, that is when we're gonna set draggable to true. And to do that, we're just gonna send in draggable to our options, because remember our components are just doing it there. And before we do that, let me show you here. Let's put a text called, we could put a text called drag, and yeah, we're just gonna add an event listener, right? And what our event listener is just gonna do is it's just going to do something very, very simple, right? Our event listener is just gonna drag. Let's do this, and I think so. We're just gonna add some event listener that says on mouse enter true, on mouse leave false, on touch starts true. So we just want to use the drag to activate our animation. Okay, so this is just an example. Let's make this big again. So once you come here, come to drag. Let's refresh page one more time. Okay, so we come here to drag and drag this. Voila, we can drag a particular item. Now if you try dragging from the parent, like, okay, I want to drag from the parents, right? I want to drag from the parents body. No, it won't work, right? It won't work because we set the drag listing to false, except we are dragging from this specific item. So now we can drag this and we can drag this to the left. We can drag this and also drag this, right? Yeah, and this is very responsive. And yeah, so instead of doing it with our paragraph, we just need to pass in this particular setter, right? So let's undo this part. We're just gonna pass in this particular setter into our options, and to do that, we're just gonna go back to our options and say we're gonna set draggable to set draggable, which is the setter. We also need to pass it for this the mobile instance, right? Let's go into options. The option is just gonna accept draggable, and draggable. Okay, let's just undo this. So draggable at this point is just gonna be draggable. Is just gonna have a type of a void, right? So what this means is accepting a value which is a boolean, right? And that's very straightforward. So set draggable, we can now redo what we did previously on the particular p tag, right? Just copy our listeners, come down here to where we have the drag. Where do we have the drag? And okay, this is drag. Then we can now put it on the parents here and say, okay, on mouse enter through this through, then we want to drag. Now let's format this properly and go back to our page. Now if you come to the first one, hold this, seems not to be working. We try dragging, not working. Try dragging, also not working. This is working. Why I was not working? Oh, okay, it works now. Okay, cool. Okay, it's actually working. Amazing. So we can drag this to the end and drag this to also to the end. Okay, that is quite satisfying and very amazing too. Now if you think about it, what about mobile? How are we going to be able to drag on mobile, right? Since if you go back to the components where we are seeing our reorder child, let me close up most of this and close up our signing part we are not using. We go to this part, right? And we have our item, right? And let's just move to the main parent component, which is our reorder group, right? We have axis of X. So a quick solution of how we could do that, because what it means is when we are on desktop, right, we want to drag on the X axis, or if we are on mobile, right, we just want to drag on the Y axis. Okay, so to do that, it's quite very easy to do that. We just have to import our use query. Remember, we have a use query where we have a useMediaQuery which we used previously, and we're just going to import this. useMediaQuery is just coming from our media query, and we're going to set the minimum width. And with this value now, we could create a new dynamic variable here that's just going to be dynamic axis. So if it's desktop, that should be X axis, else just be Y axis. That means we're on mobile devices. Let's take dynamic axis into the axis that we have here, instead of just putting some string, because if you see, this is supposed to accept X or Y. So at this point, we're just going to put our own value here, which is just returning X or Y based on the is desktop media query. So I think with that, you could say this is going to work on mobile and also on desktop. Well, we just have to try it. We can't say for certain. We have to test and see if it works. Okay, so we are on desktop and we are on mobile. Let's see if we can drag. We can't drag. Let's refresh. Okay, let's see this, and this is quite buggy. And let's refresh again. So we have this is working on the X axis. Okay, this works. Then you go to mobile. Let's quickly open up mobile and let's take something very little, and we're dragging. Okay, cool, that works. Amazing. It works on mobile. We can drag our icon and it's gonna reorder our color platelets. I mean, that works. Yeah, so we could say that particular hack works for us, right? Cool. And let's open this up again in a bigger page and see what we could do next. So we have the remove function working, we have the copy hex, we have the drag, right? And yeah, I think we're pretty much almost done with most of the features.